Welcome back, everyone, to the Queen of TV channel. Some quick things before we get into our intro. I had recorded this, but the lights ended up going out because someone probably plugged something into one of the sockets, causing the breaker to flip off. So, yeah. So, we're doing it again. And also, do not forget to watch the video to the very end. Please, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There will be cursing and profanity. If that's not your cup of tea, this channel is not for you. I will be giving my honest opinion about each episode, including this episode, and the season as a whole. Kind of messed up a little bit there. But without further ado, let's get into our intro. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, the Queen herself, and you are the Prince and Princesses. You're either a subscriber or you are a viewer. Either way, welcome. Today we'll be talking about H2O Season 2, Episode 9, Riding for a Fall. We start our episode off at Emma's house. Her brother is starting his horse training that day, and Emma's mom has a hair appointment, so Emma is the one that has to take him, considering that she did train lessons some years ago when she was a kid, but she really didn't do great with it. Her and obviously Elliot as well is not happy about this, but what can they do? We go to the Juice Net Cafe where Lewis is showing off his biofuel invention that can use anything that you grind up in it into fuel. And everyone else is not intrigued except Cleo, who is very supportive of him and thinks that he is a shoe-in to win against another competitor's invention, which is a self-buttering toaster. Lewis takes some hints from Cleo that's not hints at all, that her saying that she's never been in limo before means that she probably want to go with him. Obviously, by her facial expression, Lewis tries to do some little damage control and says that they would go as friends, of course, even though he wants to go in essentially as of a date in a way. Cleo obviously says no because she does not want to affect their chance of having a friendship again. He is bummed out about it, and Cleo still supports him and says that he's going to do great. She leaves, and we see in a different scene that Charlotte ends up being told the same thing, and she drops hints that Cleo wasn't dropping at first, that she would go with him as a date. Lewis says yes to this, even though she's like, Lewis, that was a hint. You should ask me instead. Charlotte obviously doesn't know that Lewis had already asked Cleo first. He agrees to it because they're going as friends, while Charlotte thinks that they're going as a date. Now back to Emma and Elliot, who has made it to the stables. Emma mistakenly thinks that our new character, Ash, whose last name was created by the fandom, which makes his full name Ash Dove, even though that sounds very weird to me. Emma thinks it's someone older because Ash is obviously supposedly a teenager and couldn't possibly be the horse riding instructor. Well, they find out from the other gentleman that she asked and introduced Elliot to that that is the riding instructor. Emma's very shocked because he is quite young and she thinks that he's inexperienced, so she tries to act more experienced than he is and fails miserably. They start the training course in another scene, and she isn't doing too great at it. Is being stubborn and is frustrated and refuses to try to learn anything different. So he leaves her to watch Lightning while he goes show Elliot something else. And Lightning ends up getting all cheeky and ends up pushing Emma into his water basin. And she gets wet, so she has to hide in one of the horse stables and locks herself in. Ash leaves her a towel. When we get back to Emma's house, she gets very annoyed with Elliot constantly bringing up Ash said this and Ash said that. Ricky and Cleo pick up on the fact that Emma might actually like this guy, and the reason why she's intimidated by him is because she might have a crush on him, or at least is intrigued by him in a way. She gets upset with them, taking out her anger and her stubbornness out on them by saying that Cleo can't even have a conversation with Lewis without being weird about it, so how can they judge her by her communication with Ash? She realized really quick that what she said was wrong and that she apologized for it, trying to say that she didn't mean it, even though Ricky sees it as that she meant it. But Cleo takes it in stride and apparently takes it as good advice. So the next day, she decides to tell Lewis that she will definitely be going with him to collect the award as his friend. Um, Lewis obviously is taken aback and apparently had no words and was speechless. And before he could say anything, Cleo had already left. So Emma also that day decides that she's going to train on how to work with horses, everything about horses and horse riding, everything. So she can be quite knowledgeable and very experienced like Ash is. So that the next time when we see them at the stables again, she tries to act more sophisticated as him or more than him, to think that she knows more, that she doesn't listen to his instructions and pay attention to what he's trying to teach her. It ends up with Elliot getting hurt because she forgot to, tighten his lasso. Um, Not his lasso, but his I can't think of the name of it. It's the thing they put on the back of the horse for you to be able to sit on top of the horse. His saddle. She did not secure his saddle. And obviously her stubbornness continues when Ash tells her to take Lightning back to his stable because all they've been doing today is arguing back and forth. Well, she's not paying attention to Lightning when he ends up actually eating a mysterious plant. She puts him into his stable and thinks that everything is fine. Well, when Ash comes over to give them a visit, he pays him a visit to give Elliot his certificate. Instead of just mailing it or whatever, he decided to bring it himself. Elliot's very excited. He's going to put it next to his soccer trophy. He asks if Ash could stay, much to Emma's dismay. He works real well with the dynamic. Obviously, Emma and Ricky and Cleo are there as well as Emma's family. Cleo and Ricky are having a good conversation with him, and so is her parents. And Elliot actually likes Ash. Emma's the only one that's being difficult. And when Ricky brings up on what it's like with Emma when they were training, Ash is honest. He says that Emma's a slow learner, but if she, stops being stubborn and everything and loosens up a bit, she could learn some things. Obviously, she gets upset and she's done with dinner. Ash is about to leave, but he ends up getting a call. That call is from the doctor or one of the guys that he works with that finds out that Lightning got sick and probably ate something that he shouldn't have. Emma realizes that that was her fault and that she accidentally poisoned the horse. She looks in her research book and finds the exact plant that he ate. And she tries to research to see how she can make Lightning feel better. Well, Cleo and Ricky leave her to do that. Before we get into that, before all of this happened at Emma's house, Lewis was at the Juice Snack Cafe trying to explain to Charlotte that he probably could not go with her and that Phil had changed her mind or whatever. But she's not letting him talk and he can't really get any words out. And she tells him to wear a matching tie to her dress that she spent 6 weeks' wages on. Then we have Cleo, who shows up and tells him that she actually spent 7 weeks when he thinks that she also spent her 6 weeks' wages. Cleo does ask Lewis if anything is wrong and that he can tell her. He decides to lie to her like he's sick and that he can't go. And he does the same thing with Charlotte. Now, back to Ricky and Cleo. Cleo is bummed out that Lewis cannot go because he's sick, so Ricky suggests that she can go and get the award for him. And she takes the advice. She and Charlotte apparently somehow get the same idea. Because when we get to the scene where they're about to leave for the award, Lewis is waiting for the limo that isn't there yet. Charlotte shows up first, and Charlotte's excited because she said her and Lewis can finally go like they planned, even though they didn't plan anything. But before anything else can be said, and Lewis could come clean, Cleo shows up. Nose is itching. And she sees that her and Shaw not only bought the same dress, they both got asked by Lewis, and he lied to both of them about being sick. The limo shows up, and Wilfred says that that'll be their limo. He thinks this all is funny. Charlotte and Cleo both decide they are not going, and they leave upset. Lewis having now to officially go by himself. Our nose keeps itching. So back to Emma, when she finished doing her research, she lets Ash know what happened. Well, Ash is upset with Emma, rightfully so, for not listening to him and being difficult this whole time because Ash horse would not have gotten sick had Emma just stopped being stubborn. He does not want her help. She decides to help anyway. She uses her powers that she got in this season to try to cool down Lightning because one of the things to cure him was to give him an ice bath and it should lower his temperature to where he could fight the poison off. And that's what she does. So by the next morning, Lightning does wake up and he's fine. Ash asked her what she had done to fix him. She said she did a little magic. Then, when she goes to Cleo's house with Ricky, they find out what happened between her, Lewis, and Charlotte. And Cleo tells them that not only did Lewis do this, but he also did it to Charlotte. Any episode right there. Hold on. Why is my nose? My nose is just itchy for no reason. I think it's my allergies. But into my review. Let's talk about this Lewis, Charlotte, and Cleo issue. Now, if you have ever had a comment on this, you ever see anyone else's reviews, or you seen anyone else's assessments of this episode, then you will know there is a division, basically. But you will mostly see that on this situation, there's some people that feel that Cleo should not be upset, considering she told Lewis no at first. And that he had the right to ask out Charlotte. Understanding the issue. The issue is not that Cleo said no and Lewis had the right to go with Charlotte, even though Charlotte invited herself. And just told Lewis to just invite her. So he originally was not going to ask Charlotte. Let's just clear that up. The second thing we need to clear up. Cleo was mad about the fact that Lewis lied to her about being sick and For the most part, just not telling her that he had asked Charlotte. And we clearly see in the episode when they're at the Juice That Cafe, the same day she changed her mind and decided to go with him, that she asked him if anything was wrong and that he could tell her. Unlike Charlotte, who was not willing to talk to him and kept talking over him and kept gushing about how excited she was and just ran off and left before he could get a word in. Cleo was giving him an opportunity. Now we see the dynamics have changed because one of the big issues that fans had with Cleo and Lewis this season, and just the season as a whole, including in season 1, and you could say the same argument for season 3, that there was communication problems. But here's the thing. That was never always the case. This is one of them. Cleo is communicating with Lewis. They are having good communication. When he first asked her, she was honest about why she was not going with him. There's nothing wrong with her saying no, and she had a valid reason in saying no. They are trying to work out the kinks. They are still going through the 5 stages of grief. They are getting to the point where they could be friends again without it being weird between them and awkward. Because we've seen in the previous episodes that has not been the case. There's been communication issues, but not as extreme as a lot of people are making it out to be, because they've at least at the very end had talked and worked out their issues by the end of it. In this case, Cleo is asking Lewis outright, is there an issue? You can talk to me. Unlike Charlotte, who is so far in her idea that she's finally going to get to be with Lewis and finally going to get to do something with Lewis, she's not trying to let him communicate with her. So you see how the dynamics have switched? It's Charlotte that has the communication problem now, because Charlotte has always had the communication problem. Lewis has not been able to communicate with Charlotte because Charlotte won't let him since episode 6, because she is still not respecting his boundaries. The first boundary he set with her was that he did not want to move on. He did not want a relationship with her. He just wanted to be friends with her. She is still not respecting that boundary and not accepting that rejection. Again, the second time, he told her that next time when she needed to give him something, or anything for that matter has anything to do with him, she needs to come with him first. She again will not respect that boundary because she keeps lying to him, she keeps manipulating him, and she keeps putting him in situations that he should not be put into because she is living in a fantasy life where she thinks the first guy she meets should be her soulmate. She is deliberately being difficult. Cleo in this episode is not being difficult. Charlotte is not trying to be difficult, but she also is not trying to let him communicate with her properly, because she literally tells him that he should be asking her when it should be his choice to want to ask her, not to be told that he needs to ask her. Lewis is in the wrong, not for asking Charlotte or wanting to go with her or still having feelings for Cleo and wanting to be with his ex and not dating Charlotte, because he is 17. Fictional character not. He is a man that should have his own right to make his own choices, and no one should shit on him for doing that. And if he wants to be with someone, he could be whoever the hell he wants to. Our opinions do not matter because it's not our relationship. And it's not us that's making the choice. So if he doesn't want Charlotte, if he doesn't love Charlotte, and he will never love Charlotte, that is his right. We don't dictate that. And Lewis is wrong, not in the reality of that expense. He's wrong for not just being honest with Cleo and telling her that he had already decided to go with Charlotte. This is where he's wrong. This is where he is wrong. This is not the only episode where Lewis has done things that is wrong, that is very overlooked. This is one case. I have yet to see a person out of the millions of comments in the world that call Lewis out for not being honest and just telling Cleo. Because where Lewis is at fault is for standing up and lying to Cleo and for literally leading Cleo on. Leading Charlotte on, no. Because originally Charlotte was the one that he was going with. Cleo is the one that he led on. So Cleo has every right to be mad. Charlotte does not have the right to be mad at all. Because he did not lead her on. He led Cleo on. So that's where he's wrong at in this situation. So in all fairness, Cleo is not the wrong one in this situation. And has every right to be mad. Now, does this make me see Lewis in a different light where I'm seeing him having his moments where he is having bad communication and is not properly communicating right? Lewis, I have seen multiple times try to communicate with Charlotte, and Charlotte will not listen to him and write it off. And I have yet to see someone acknowledge the fact that Charlotte's communication skills are completely non-existent. Lewis has tried to communicate with Cleo. Lewis has been able to communicate with Cleo. Their issues with them is not their communication. The issues with them is the misunderstandings in their communication. And the fact that they are trying to navigate friendship after a breakup. Charlotte, in this case, is the one with the communication issues. Lewis is not. Lewis has been communicating with her honestly and has not told her any lie. Charlotte, however, has not been honest with Lewis, refuses to communicate properly, respect his boundaries, and on top of that, every time he tries to tell her something, she won't shut up and let him finish. She won't let him finish. She won't let this man talk. So that is a further issue with these two because it gets worse when they start dating. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get there. Looking at the Emma and Ash situation, I am sorry for anybody that does like Emma, that does not like Ash. I feel that Ash is better for Emma than Byron is. Hear me out. Byron is too damn, like, ditzy. And I don't mean that to make fun of people who are blonde. I'm not meaning ditzy in him being a dumb blonde. I mean dipsy. Like, or ditzy. Um, in the sense of he is just too damn chill. Like, he's one of those boyfriends that's like, whatever. If anybody's ever seen like Good Luck Charlie, um, Teddy Duncan had dated a bad boy that apparently had terrible communication. They had terrible chemistry, and he was always like, whatever. And we find out from her friend Ivy that his mind is just clear. There's nothing up there. Like, she even attempted this, and she would not revert herself back to the way she was because she was like, her having an empty head was so relaxing. So I just feel like Byron is more like too chilled back and everything. And it's like he's not trying when it comes to a relationship with them. He's just like going with the flow while Emma's doing all the work. Well, in Ash's case, Ash will try with Emma. He will make attempts to try with her. Yeah, they might go back and forth with each other, but he keeps giving her chances. And he keeps communicating with her, and he keeps trying, and he keeps trying to help her, even though she's being a bitch to him. So this man has way more patience with her than any guy would. He literally knows that she has an issue with him, but he doesn't get mad. On top of that, he's like being nice to her, even though she's being a bitch to him. So it's obvious she has a crush on him. It's obvious she likes this guy. She just doesn't know how to express it. Because this is the first guy that's ever been on Emma's level. Because, like Emma, he has things about him that people would not like. He's also a prideful person. He also can be stubborn. He also is kind of like an organized type individual. He does things that are not necessarily by the book. He does things that get under Emma's skin because, he's more of, he likes to have fun type. And the dude has nice attitude, okay? So it's like Emma was the problem in this situation between them two because she's the one that's being difficult. And that may be due to her not knowing how to communicate with someone like Ash, because look how long it's been since Byron left. We haven't seen Byron since season 1, episode 24. And here it is. We're in season 2, episode 9. So, I mean, about 10 or more episodes later. So, in the grand scheme of like the show, if we're going to look at a timeline, it's been months since he moved away. But the only reason why she's acting like this because she liked the guy. Because if you remember in episode 21 of season 1, when Emma thought that Byron saw her as dependable and that was actually supposed to be a compliment, she didn't take it as one. She ended up dyeing her hair red. Well, okay, we have Ash, a horse riding instructor that knows more about horse riding than she do. So she tries to learn horse riding and does a lot of research to be on his level, to be a certain way that either rivals or complements him, because she doesn't want him to think she's not smart about it. So, like with Byron, she doesn't want Byron to think she's dependable. So it's like the same way. You could tell if you look back at their relationship and you look at her and Ash, you could tell that the things that she's doing with Ash, she did it with Byron too. So it's obvious she likes the guy. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm right in my assessment about this whole thing with Louis, Charlotte, and Cleo? Do y'all think that Louis led Cleo on and that Charlotte shouldn't be the one that should be mad, concerning that he didn't lead her on? Do you think Louis was wrong in how he did that? I do. Like, dude, tell the truth. But what do you guys think? And what do you guys think about Emma and Ash? Do you think that Ash isn't good enough for Emma and that they shouldn't be together because you are Team Byron? Or do you think that Emma was the problem in their relationship until she finally let her hair down and let him like her back? But that's all I gotta say. So you guys have a blessed day. You have a wonderful day. And if no one's told you this today, I'm telling you, I love you. And you already know this is like the first time we'll see each other again. But until then, bye guys.